Okay, today we are going to talk about a lot of random things, questions that I've gotten from artists. I'm going to cover them one by one. The first one is for somebody who does more than just art, something unrelated. In this case, a self-employed psychologist and coach who is also an artist. How do you market yourself? Should you separate your two brands? Have separate websites, separate marketing, and so forth? Or should you combine them? Boy, separating them sure sounds like a lot of work. A lot of work. And unless you've got, $1 million business, you don't really have the team or the horses, the people to run two totally different operations. So I think find a creative way to combine the two. What part of your business is your main business? If being a coach psychologist is your main business, have that be your website and then find a way to work your art into it. And I guess the answer is going to be different for everyone. But I'm not a proponent of creating more work than is necessary because we already have such limited time. So if you can make sales but keep your work limited, that's the ideal scenario. Emily asked this question: I want to teach art classes and workshops. I have several venues and brochures and flyers, but I'm not getting enough people to sign up. How can I fill up some seats? I actually have been running into this with my live workshops that I hold here in the gallery. I'm not getting as many people signing up as I'd like. And I've analyzed it and I realize it's because I've only done a couple. It's a new thing for me to do that. So I haven't built up a following yet. If you are having live events, painting events, whatever it is that you're doing on a regular basis, and you're using someone else's venue because you don't have your own place to do it, if you have the choice of using or renting a place that has a mailing list, that's ideal. So I'm going to give you two examples. One is here in town, we have a local art supply store. It's called San Clemente Art Supply. And they have classes most days of the week with different instructors. They have a huge mailing list of artists that they send newsletters to. So if you were going to teach a class at San Clemente Art Supply, they would get the word out to their artists that are their customers. And you will have a good showing. I've actually given talks at San Clemente Art Supply, and because they have such a good database and a big email list, they fill the room with people. That's the advantage. Now that I have my own place, I don't have this huge list of local artists. I have a big list of global, but not local. So it's been more challenging for me because I haven't built it up yet. So my answer is, and this goes for gallery shows and exhibits too, you're always better off having your event, whether it's an exhibit or painting workshop or whatever, having it at a location that has a huge database of people that like to come to their events. There's a place not far from here called Awakening Center, and it's a conference center where they have like meditation classes, channeling sessions. They have experts from all over the world come and use their it's a small conference center. It's really just a room with a bunch of chairs. But Awakening Center has this huge database. And we gave an art exhibit there last year. They packed the place, packed it, because they use their database. So that's my answer. If you can team up with someone who already has a big database of your customers, then do that. If you can't, then I recommend spending money on local newspaper ads and also spending money on Facebook ads. And you can, when you use a Facebook ad, you can target it to a geographical location. So the next time I have an event here and I want to fill it up, I will do a Facebook ad and I'll tell Facebook to only target people in South Orange County that like art or that like learning about the business of art. And then that way they're doing targeted marketing for me. And then another thing that you can do, and this is a long-term plan, but if you plan on having events or workshops long-term, no matter what venue you use, always, 100% of the time, make it a point to get the email address of every attendee and find a way to stay in touch with them through email. That way you're building up your own database, and that is worth more than anything. That gives you a lot of freedom. Because if you have a falling out with the venue that you're using, that's okay. You have a list of names and you can take that list anywhere you go. Next question is from Karina. She said, I've decided to take my work in a fun new direction. Should I do shows, pay for ads on Facebook and Instagram? What's the best way to reach potential clients? Well, I'm a huge proponent of live events. And while that seems like a lot of work, it exposes you to instant feedback of your work. It enables you to gather people's emails so you can stay in touch with them later. And when you meet people in person, they tend to feel like they know you. And when people know you, they become more of a raving fan if you're nice to them. There's a lot of different ways to do live events. Art exhibits in galleries is not the only way to do it. And as a matter of fact, I think it's one of the least effective ways to do it nowadays, because galleries don't really market artists anymore like they used to. They expect you to come with your own buyers, which why even bother if you're providing the buyers? You might as well do it yourself at your own home or something like that. But you could team up with a company or someone that is either exhibiting at a trade show or they have an event going on where you can be the only artist there. I'll give you an example. Some of Drew's work really appeals to the medicinal marijuana crowd. Some of his more edgy, fun artwork. And we have found that that is a crowd that likes to spend money on art, and it's a crowd that has money to buy art. And so we have created opportunities for ourselves to exhibit at marijuana-centered trade shows. And they're all over the country. How do we do that? Well, this is where you really have to get creative. This is my art. This is what I do. I say to myself, okay, here's a trade show in San Diego. It's going to have our target market. Our target market is highly educated medicinal marijuana company owners, employees, and people who are passionate about those topics. And I will find out, I'll look through the list of vendors and I'll find a vendor that's exhibiting and I'll call them and I'll say, hey, I think you might benefit from having Drew paint in your booth or do an exhibit in your booth, especially if it's a company that's selling a really boring product like attorney services or insurance services. When they have a boring product like that, they would really benefit from having something bright and colorful in their booth because it will draw people to them. Also, software companies, unless they have insanely cool branding, their booths are pretty boring looking. There are a million trade shows for every industry you can imagine. So you just have to get creative and think about it. And I find that when you are the only artist or one of the very few artists that are exhibiting at a show, sorry, I got distracted. My mom just sent me a message and it popped up on my screen saying, Maria, I can see you talking on Instagram, but I can't hear you. Hi, Mom. You have to maybe turn your sound on or something. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, where was I? Just get creative and find a way to team up with a company that's exhibiting at a show. And I've had the most success at shows and trade shows and events where other artists are not there. Or maybe there's only one or two other artists. Because, and I've talked about this many times, but the reason I always talk about this is because it works. And nobody else is doing it, and I don't know why. So I want to urge you, if you really want to see some success with your work, try this out. I'll tell you, there's an artist out there named Owen Garrett, and he does this. He does black and white drawings of images that appeal to the oil industry. And how clever is that? Because there is so much money in the oil industry. And he often will exhibit at oil trade shows, oil industry trade shows. Here's a good question from someone asking, do you usually have to pay or is it like a trade? So I think what you're asking is, do you have to pay to be in someone's booth? There have been times where we've gotten paid to exhibit in someone's booth, because that's another really cool thing that I discovered, is that I can call a company and say, you know, you've got this product that's a great product, but if you want us to help you attract people to your booth, we'll do a live painting, we'll display artwork in your booth, and we'll generate all this energy around your booth, and it will draw people to us, and it's only going to cost you $3,000. And I've had people pay us to do it, actually numerous times. Sometimes we'll just do it for free, and it's a trade. It's like we're making your booth interesting, and you're giving us a place to exhibit work and get new customers. So it's a win-win for everybody. I talk about this in my book, Art, Money, Success. Sorry, it's backwards, but when I'm doing an Instagram Live, it's like I'm looking into a mirror, so everything's backwards. But in my book, I talk a lot about unconventional ways to reach new buyers with your art that other artists are not doing. And I'm the only one talking about this stuff. I don't know why. Besides Owen Garrett is the only person that I found that does this besides us. Okay, I'm going to move on to another question. Question is, how do I engage relationships with busy art directors that you can't see in person and they're too busy to reply to emails? This question applies to, you can change the word art directors to anything. Anyone that you're trying to sell an idea or a product to. How do you engage people that are too busy to even open your email? Well, you know, this question is, if I can't see them in person. Well, first of all, I want to say that you can go to where people are. There's no reason you can't. You're just not willing to spend the money to go. There have been many times, year after year, where I will get out of the comfort of my little space and fly across the country and attend an event so I can learn something new and meet people. That's really, if you want to go to another level, that next level, that's what you have to do. If you're not willing to go to that next level, that's okay. I'm not going to make you feel bad about it. I sometimes never want to go anywhere either. So what if you're not willing, or you can't leave your kids because you're a single parent and you really can't? Then do something to surprise people. Guess what? Nobody sends snail mail anymore. Snail mail is actually taking time to put something special together, whether it's a handwritten note or a little gift or a little something that you actually put in an envelope and put a stamp on it and you mail it to someone. Nobody ever does that. That's why it's so effective. Let's say you have a list of potential buyers. Let's say you have a list of 50 people and you've tried cold calling these people and you tried emailing them and you're not getting anywhere. Here's what you could do. Make postcards. Every 2 months, send out a beautiful postcard of your work. On the front and on the back, have a call to action. A call to action is, call me for a quote. Look at my website. Email me for pricing. You know, whatever you want them to do, put that on the back. Let's say you're sending this to art directors because you are a graphic designer and you want to get new business that way. Or let's say you're sending it to interior decorators and art consultants because you want to get your work into a, say hi to the mailman, because you want to get your work into hotels and hospitality and different things like that. This works for so many different scenarios. When you're consistent, if you consistently send a postcard out with a different image and a different message or a similar message, call to action on the back of it, every 2 months, and you do this for a year, I guarantee you there will be some people on that mailing list that will be collecting your postcards. Some people will hang it on the wall behind their desk if you put striking images on it. And some people will tuck it away in a drawer in a pile of things to do when they're ready. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're trying to get your work into hotel chains. And so you're sending your work to all these art consultants, because art consultants are the people who get hired by hotels to put artwork in the rooms. And let me tell you, those are big deals to get, because often they will order, oh my gosh, they'll order 20,000 images. Well, maybe not 20,000. They'll order $20,000 worth of images at a time. But your work might not be right that month because it's not what they're looking for. But they're going to save your postcard in a drawer. And then 8 months goes by and one of their clients says, oh, this is what we're looking for. And then the art consultant will think, oh yeah, I remember getting something in the mail that I think will fit that. And they'll pull out your postcard and that's when they'll call you. You know, this business is a long-term game. There are no overnight magical strategies. Almost everything takes time, consistency, and dedication. What happens is a lot of people give up before they get traction. I know artists that say, oh, I sent out 3 postcards and I didn't get 1 phone call. I give up. Well, you're giving up right before you get the gold. Don't give up. Commit to something for long term. I've been singing this song about postcards for a long time to my artist clients, and I've had many of them come back and say, oh my gosh, you're right. Like after 6 months, I finally got a deal from it. I finally got hired. I finally got commissions. And it does work. And that goes for everything that you're working on. Don't just like try it for a day or two and then, oh, it didn't work, and so I give up. And I'm going to try something else, because you're going to lose traction every time you give up and try something else. Think long term. Don't quit anything until you've given it at least a year. And that's YouTube videos, that's Instagram lives. I'm on my second week of doing this, and I'm getting a lot of traction. What my purpose of doing this actually is because I want to get better at speaking live. And you guys are my guinea pigs. You're giving me this opportunity, and you're all giving me feedback, and I appreciate that so much. And I'm finding that more and more I'm getting better and better at this, and I'm enjoying it. So thanks for being part of my experiment. All right, let's see. One last question, and feel free to ask questions in the comments. By the way, this is live, and I can see your questions in your comments. My last question is, I think I hit all my questions. All right, I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow, I am going to talk about telling your story. And if your story is boring, your story as a person, as an artist, as a creator, what should you put on your about page? What should you talk about? Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about why your story is not boring at all, and how to take what you think is a boring story and turn it into an interesting story. One last thing, Mrs. Smith asked me to talk about sculpture. You know, I talk about paintings a lot just because it's easy and it's what I know, but almost everything I talk about can be translated to photography, sculpture, making pottery, I already said photography, graphic design, lettering, whatever, fish printing. It's kind of all the same. You just have to change the details a little bit. Okay, so tomorrow, join me again, same time, same place, 1:30 Pacific Standard Time, because I am in California. That is 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Send me questions on my latest my latest Instagram post, and I will try to cover those questions tomorrow, but the main topic is telling your story. See you all tomorrow. I do love you. Mom, I hope you can hear me now. Bye.